In this edition of Champion Chats, we will meet the folks at Penn Harris Madison. This Indiana school district has recently created the Impact Awards, an award given to teachers celebrating excellence in teaching. In particular, they're looking at student growth. We'll meet their superintendent, Dr. Jerry Thacker, who, after 19 years as a superintendent, recently announced that he is retiring. Our conversation today is joined by Drs. Heather Short and Dr. Lavon Dean-Null, who also work with PHM. And we'll learn more about the Impact Awards and what it's doing for the culture in their school district. I got a chance to meet with you guys back at ASA in early March and learn a little bit about your district. You talked about the triangle, that relationship between teachers and students and families. And I can't help but to see the correlation between the triangle that you guys that use and you've trademarked in your district and also Maslow's hierarchy. Same shape. I don't know if that came into mind as you were creating this, but I want you to speak to culture. What does doing something like this with the Impact Awards affect with culture?
Our teachers are certainly valued. We have a collaborative spirit and a collaborative relationship with our Teachers Association, Teachers Union. In fact, I had lunch with the president yesterday talking about some initiatives that we wanted to make sure that we accomplish collaboratively. When we think about the teachers and attracting them, okay, because we're a high performing school district and because we talk about that triangle, by talking about our triangle, we have built a greater relationship beyond communication with parents to a partnership. We really get far fewer calls and complaints in here from parents who are dissatisfied with the working with the principal and such. We try to have that triangle all the way down. When we think about our teachers, we have here are some things that we make sure we do. I've never laid off a teacher. Okay, we went through a great recession. We went through COVID. We have all kinds of challenges. We went through differences in the budget. I've been a superintendent here for 19 years. I was superintendent elsewhere for 8 years. We never laid off a teacher because they have to be feeling like they're safe and secure in the environment. And so what we have really great people committed to making a difference, proud of what they're celebrating that excellence, having that impact. And see, the three of us are kind of coming off a high in those different schools today, from elementary, middle, and high school. All these different people are recognizing in their classrooms and such. So I'm making sure they're valued and they know that they are, because we celebrate them constantly. We do it at school board meetings. We bring people in, we introduce them. They have, and some of the professional development they just went through, we had a number of them come to a board meeting, and they were recognized with a different pin. It's like I don't want to say we're like the military, but the military, they always use these symbolic kinds of things. And we had the people that came over today and showed their own trophy for the Impact Award and joined their colleague. So when we make them feel like they're part of a team, that sense of belonging and celebrating and helping them grow where they want to, we have opportunities for them to explore going into administration or some other role in addition to just being teacher, or in addition to it, sometimes they want to teach and do other things. We provide lots of opportunities so we don't have a great turnover.
I'd be interested in hearing from you, Dr. Short. Tell me a little bit about the idea for acknowledging excellence. I mean, teachers are in pursuit of excellence every day with their students, but as we all know, they are not recognized enough for the work that they're doing in their classrooms. How did this idea even come about?
Completely agree with you. I don't think that we kind of make the space to celebrate our educators in the degree that we should. Couple that with the fact that a lot of educators are really humble. They go into education because they're altruistic and they want to help children, right? They want to help children succeed. So really, when we started to think about how we could recognize and celebrate people, we really utilized one of Liz Wiseman's books, and it's entitled Impact Players. So we read that as a leadership team. And in it, Liz Wiseman really talks about being able to differentiate kind of the mindsets and the behaviors that help people not just do their job, but do their job in a way that they help everyone become better that's around them and paying attention. And so when we started to think about what we could do, we took a lot of the research and the development of her theory and put that into practice with what we were doing within our principal team is where it started. So as Dr. Thacker mentioned, we did a book study on that. And then we did a couple of sessions just about how that looks in classrooms, how that looks in schools. How do you identify a good teacher from someone who is truly an impact player in your building? What does it feel like when you're in their classroom? What does it feel like or sound like when they're in a staff meeting or when they're working with parents or students? And so from there, we decided we would create this award, which has been fun for a lot of reasons, but we didn't want it to become the popularity award, so to speak. We wanted to make sure that there was true data supporting student growth behind it. And not just high-level student achievement, right? We wanted to make sure that we have over 600 educators in our district, and we wanted to make sure that we weren't just celebrating the teachers who happen to have the high ability students or the teachers who just have the AP students. And so we decided we'd really focus on the idea of growth and being able to substantiate growth through formative or summative assessments that are very consistent throughout our district. So then we're able to kind of benchmark, so to speak, who is doing really, really well, and that they're able to take their students from where they are in September to where we happen to be on April 1st, and then be able to really, truly identify, target, and support the data that they have helped create with student achievement based on instructional practices that we'd like replicated throughout the district. So that's really kind of the impetus behind it. And then we decided that we really kind of wanted it to have this element of surprise. So again, teachers don't know we're coming. Their students don't know we're coming. Their principals know we're coming, because when we design the days and the times, we start with Dr. Thacker's calendar, and then we kind of have to go through everybody else, but we want them in front of their students when we come through the door. So, it doesn't mean as much. It doesn't seem as significant if we catch them in the hallway before class or as they're getting out of their car. We really want them in front of their students. The student response has been, I think, a huge surprise for all of us. They are so incredibly proud to celebrate their teacher. And I mean, they're cheering, they're applauding. And I think that's like just as impactful for the teacher as receiving the award. It's like, oh my gosh, like my kids get it. My kids understand how dedicated. I mean, teaching is a work of heart, right? Like we really need people who are dedicated and who are willing to put in. And, we talk about this phrase a lot, the idea of like, you value what you talk about. Well, if you want to spend a lot of your time talking about disciplinary issues or things that come from the homes that we don't have any control over, or somebody being late to class, that's fine. Those might be factors, but not factors that we have any influence over generally. We really want to talk about high-level instructional practices and then being able to celebrate teachers who are making great strides in student growth and student achievement because they are really targeted on what that looks like in their classroom.
Dr. Dean-Null, I'm coming to you in just a second, but Dr. Thacker, I would like to ask, can you reiterate for me and share a little bit about the demographics of your school system, and tell us about your community, your town that you're in?
Okay, Penn Harris Madison is a school district with 11,000 students. We have one high school, one of the largest high schools in Indiana. We have 11 elementary schools, and we have 3 middle schools. We have an alternative school, which works in conjunction with our high school. Okay, so of the 11,000 students we have, predominantly white, over 70% are white. And then we have approximately 12 or 13% that would be African American, and about the same percentage which would be Asian and Pacific Islander. Okay, and then the Hispanic population would make up approximately 5 or 6%. If that averages out to approximately 100. Okay, so we have great parent involvement. We're connected to the University of Notre Dame is in our backyard. And of course we have what I'd say affluent. We have some of the very affluent families, and we have the poverty. But when I started here, it was 90%, paid lunch and 10% free lunch. Now that it's moved to 70%. But when you look back at the 90% paid and a 79% graduation rate, it was a wealthier demographic. So we've changed, and to have 3 times as many kids who are impoverished, but our Title I schools or Title IX schools, or Title I schools, I should say, are doing great work. I mean, really exceptional work, making some of our greatest gains. We had 4 of our schools that were Title I last year make academic gains in terms of ranking in the state of Indiana by more than 100 points, and one of them went up 200. Middle school went up 212 points in rank, and so that's all happening because of the design and developing leaders and developing the teachers. But the demographics would be that we just have 3 times as much poverty, and we have a little greater racial diversity, a lot more socioeconomic diversity.
I think this really highlights that over the course, the arc of your career as a superintendent, you've seen a lot of changes in education, and that you're showing as a lifelong learner yourself that you're able to be adaptable and meet the needs of the students that you have that are currently in your district today. Dr. Dean-Null, I'm really curious about the idea of when you guys are checking for growth to see which teachers are growing kids, are we just looking in our core subjects, or are we looking across the board? And it could be anyone. How do you select?
It was really important for us to know that we really wanted to highlight K through 12. So that was something that important, that it wasn't just going to be the grade levels that, our state testing is called iLearn. And we wanted to make sure that we just didn't limit that to like 3rd through 8th grade. It was important that everybody would be eligible. So we have looked at lots of different data points, but I would say the key is what Dr. Short talked about. It's all about growth. So for example, today, like we went to classrooms where we looked at a 2nd grade class with DIBELS growth, but then we also went to the high school with AP growth. And we compare that for multiple different ways. Sometimes that data point is comparing from the beginning of the year to the middle of the year to how kids have grown. Sometimes we, like the middle school math class that we were in that Dr. Thacker talked about, we did a comparison of growth compared to the state averages and how much they increased that variance between where the state averages were compared to where our students are. So for us, it was really important that we wanted everyone to be acknowledged. We have also done areas beyond math and language arts. So like today was a social studies high school class. We also did another middle school class that we went to, was a co-taught class. So it was, we call it exceptional education here, but a special education teacher and a language arts teacher who co-teach those classes together. So it was really important for us, again, to make this attainable for everyone. And we were highlighting positive academic growth across the school corporation.
Now, I would love for one of you to set the scene for me as you walked into that classroom this morning to celebrate one of your teachers. Share with me what happened when you went in. How did the teacher respond? And then for the people who may be watching this, what kind of award is it? I've seen it in person, but describe the award. Set the scene for me.
So first of all, I want to also make sure that we give a shout out to our communications department. As Dr. Thacker mentioned, we believe in the concept of no covert excellence, right? So our communication department really helps us and has a huge role in making this a internal and an external sharing of success, right? So we're able to go in. So this morning we go into a classroom. It's a 2nd grade classroom in one of our elementary buildings. And as we enter the classroom, the students are working on their individualized level program where they need to be. And the teacher is in the very back of the room working with one student. Okay, so not atypical when you walk into a 2nd grade classroom. We were there in particular to share that this teacher's students had the highest percentage passing rate on one of the statewide assessments for early literacy and predictability for reading. And so she really, truly did an outstanding job. So we walk in and the kids all look up And it's not uncommon for principals and adults to go in and out of our classrooms, right? We want to make sure that students don't ever stop the learning process, right? And so we kind of all walked in, but there were a few more of us than typically. So in come the communications people, in goes Dr. Thacker, Dr. Dean-Null, myself, our director of literacy, and then we almost get all the way to the back table where the teacher's working before the teacher looks up and she goes, oh. And at that point, I think she realized that we were there to celebrate her. And I actually do have the, this is just one of the awards. So this is going to a teacher who's going to receive it on Thursday. But as you can tell, I hope you can see, it's substantial. It's glass, it's engraved. I'll bring it all the way up. It has our triangle at the top. It has Impact Award. It says the teacher's name in recognition of outstanding student growth, and then the year. So it's something that we wanted them to feel was substantial when we handed it to them. Dr. Thacker then says a few words after the principal talks for a second. He celebrates the teacher. It is not uncommon at all for the teacher to get a little choked up, maybe blush a little, but so incredibly proud. And then we had a couple different students in the classroom. The one little boy was like, "It's like winning the Super Bowl." And all the little kids were like, "Yeah." And then the teacher's like, "Yeah, like the Super Bowl of learning." Like, that's what we're here for. And so just the immediate buzz in the classroom is just so fun to feel. And then, you know, we generally ask as we're getting ready to leave, like, "So you guys, what are you going to share when you get home tonight?" And they were like, "That our teacher is awesome, that she's the best teacher in second grade." And so they just get super, super excited. And I feel like that energy then will carry through the whole day. The one little girl, as Dr. Dean-Null was walking out of the classroom, she's like, "I can't stop smiling. I just can't stop smiling." And so again, it's just this immense pride. And while I will totally admit, on the front end, the idea of this award was to recognize the teachers for their dedication, for their commitment, for their hard work, for all of the things that we know they deserve public recognition for, and things shouted from the rooftops and from the mountains. But this unintended consequence of the immediate and palpable energy from the students, because they're so proud of their students or their teachers. And then the teachers also kick it back to the kids like, "No, you guys, this is about you. This is about your learning. This is about the work you put in this year." That's just a pretty typical cycle that we've come to see as we go into classrooms to surprise someone. But I'll stop there. And if someone else wants to jump in.
I love hearing that. That is phenomenal. I'm curious, Dr. Dean-Null, as we kind of wrap up our time together, if people are hearing this and they want to start one of these, what best practices, advice, things that you guys figured out in the first go round? I know you're in year 2, but I really think this is a phenomenal best practice that other school systems may be interested in adopting. What do they need to know to be able to set one of these programs up?
I would say the first thing is look at what you value. So like what we talked about, we knew what we wanted to celebrate. We wanted to celebrate excellence and we wanted to celebrate growth. So I think it is really important that you decide what is it in your school corporation that you want to celebrate and that you want to highlight. And then once you pick that, I think then it's just jumping in. Like we were willing to just embrace it and say, here we go. We're going to pick some people that we know are deserving, and here's the reasons why. As Dr. Thacker mentioned, it's not one of those things where we have to be embarrassed if someone else wins. I think going back to what Dr. Short said about unintended consequences, that we're very positive. We have a lot of teachers who were like, their data will come out and they're like, "Oh, I wonder if I'm going to get an impact award." So I think for school corporations, it's saying, don't be nervous about, well, who's going to win and who's not going to win. You decide what your criteria is, what you really want to highlight, and then you go through and you select those people that you want to work with. Or that you want to highlight. I feel like the other part is creating an event or the emotion with it. I think that's been a huge part of the success of this program is, again, it's not something that we just give in a haphazard way or we do something. I mean, Dr. Short talked about the vibe in the classroom. Like it's the whole school. When we all come in together, all the front office staff are like, "Who are you here for? Are you giving an impact award? Like what's happening?" So I think that's really important for school corporations to know too, that like if you if you select this, if you say in our district, we are going to highlight this and we are going to identify people who are really exemplifying our mission and our vision, what's important to us, then I say fully embrace it, make an event. Maybe some people take balloons, maybe some people take whatever it is, but just making it a big deal for people, I think is what we really need to do to highlight our teachers and then in return highlight our students.
And what's the frequency of giving out this award? I heard today that you said you went to 3 grade levels, elementary, middle, and high, but how often are you giving these out?
We actually did 5 today, 5 awards today. So we made through quite a few. And then we'll do 2 more later this week. Again, that kind of depends on when data comes back, but we've done kind of some beginning of the year, middle of the year, and kind of end of the year. So we've kind of done 3 cycles throughout.
That's fantastic. As we wrap up today, Dr. Thacker, I would like to, pick your brain, get some pearls of wisdom from you as a veteran educator who's going out after a very storied career in 19 years in the superintendent seat there. What advice do you give to new superintendents, aspiring superintendents, when it comes to communication and how they can communicate effectively with their communities, whether it's parents, teachers, or students? And how do you celebrate the work that's happening in schools?
When I think about communication, I want to make sure that, as was mentioned, it's internal and external. And we always say, just tell the truth. Always tell the truth. Don't exaggerate. You don't have to do any of that. Just achieve at a high level and share the truth. And when we're looking at that vision of excellence, and Dr. Dean-Null said, what do you value? Okay, excellence. They should have some kind of vision of what they want to have happen when they're doing the communication. What's the purpose of that? What's the intended audience? And what are you trying to convey? We're trying to convey how great our schools are. And when I say that, if we have something negative that occurs, we share that too. Something that is a sad situation that we have to make amends for, whatever that is. We just tell the truth and we deal with that because it continues to build trust. So we talk about honesty, integrity, make sure that we build the trust, tell the truth, constantly market positive images of our schools. Our public schools are doing great things, and we want teachers doing those things. And we use, and as Dr. Short said, our communications department is superb. Our director has a master's degree in journalism from Northwestern, and you probably have met her, Lucia Ramey. Phenomenal person, and with her team, they do great work. And so we're constantly looking at the different modes of communicating, and we just keep communicating constantly. When I mentioned the excellence happens here, that happens weekly, one of the things that helped bring about that frequency is we were going through a school board, a period of time, there was going to be a school board election, and we had people that were providing misinformation about our school. So we thought, let's just tell the truth. And so we send this out to each school. So we have 11,000 kids. So we have the families of 11,000 kids. Plus, we put it on the social media, and of course, we use the local news media, television stations, as well as the newspaper and radio. So we use all the means that we possibly can and continue. And we have more than one voice. We have a lot of the people who are doing the great things that are happening. We put the spotlight on them. Continue to put the spotlight, create as many heroes as you can, and create success as often as you can. And tell the story. Keep sharing that. And as we've indicated, at the beginning, there was a reluctance because teachers are naturally pretty unassuming. And so when we talk about transporting best practices, what are the great things that are working? They put teachers in charge of different professional development activities so that we can make sure that we're not only growing our own, but we're making our own teachers better. But constantly making everybody an ambassador that we possibly can in PHM. And our best ambassadors are the 11,000 kids that we teach every day. So if they can go out and they can say something positive about their teacher and their kids, we want them when they leave to have something that's positive they can share at home. So it's constantly marketing positive images, intentionally doing things all the time. And our leadership team does a good job of that, our principals, and we have teachers doing a great job, our coaches, any of the people in extracurriculars seem to be doing a superb job, but we keep trying to do that, focusing on the academic piece as well. So everything that we value, we want to make sure that we're promoting that. And it's nonstop, intentional, and it's one of our major goals to market positive images.
Appreciate you guys sharing what you're doing in your school district and maybe inspiring others to celebrate their teachers and educators in that way in theirs.